Two nerds went to college and found each other in the English department basement and became instant friends. 8 years and 3 degrees later, they're reunited. You're listening to Book Club, the movie, the podcast.
The flower moon takes place in the month of May, when all of the flowers begin to bloom in the Osage Nation in Oklahoma. It was during the flower moon of 1921 when the body of Anna Brown was discovered, and the reign of terror against the Osage people officially began. Oil was discovered in Oklahoma, and by the 1920s, the members of the Osage tribe became the wealthiest people in the world. They built big, beautiful houses, rode around in fancy chauffeured cars, and were able to give their families the best of everything. While the Osage were wealthy, they were not entirely in control of their finances. The federal government deemed them incompetent and required their funds be managed by legal guardians. This included Molly Kyle, also known as Molly Burkhart, and her sisters Minnie, Anna, and Rita. Anna was the woman found murdered in May of 1921. Killers of the Flower Moon by David Grann is about the conspiracy to steal oil rights from the Osage people, murder, and the birth of the FBI.
Over 20 confirmed, like, quote unquote, like solved murders, but David Grann writes that, it could be in the scores or hundreds. Like it was just the, like,
it's who knows. Nobody knows. Nobody knows for sure. There is no exact number.
right.
And even those
24, I think was the count.
Even those 24, there was no justice.
Right. No. Some people went to jail for like a hot second, but like, had they murdered white people, then they probably would have suffered from capital punishment and been executed. But since it was just Native Americans, they went to prison with life sentences and then got out early and were able to live long into their 80s and 90s, which does not sound fair at all.
No, because it wasn't. It wasn't fair at all. It was awful. This whole thing is awful. Definitely wasn't taught this in school at all. We learned, we had like a paragraph about the Trail of Tears.
Right.
And that was just like, it was a bummer. And then they moved and it was fine. And that's, that's not what happened.
Yeah.
I think it's a really important story. And yeah, it's definitely like traumatizing to read. It's awful, but this is so important.
It is. Yeah. Extremely, extremely important piece of American history, I think, that needs to be taught more. And yeah, David Grann, right person to write it, I think.
Why do you think he was the person to write it?
Yeah, I mean, so let's get into that, right? So the book came out in 2018, right? Or was it published in 2017?
I think it was 2017.
Oh, it was April 18th, 2017. 18. Okay. Let's talk about the different kinds of stories that the two are telling in this instance. So for the book was published in 2018. It's a pretty new book.
2017.
God damn it. The book was published in 2017. Shit.
I'm marking it again. Okay, marked. Okay, the book was published in 2017.
I'm going to let you take the book. How about that? I'll do the movie.
Okay, I'm marking it again. Marked. Okay. The book was published in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
which I read was also the time that Martin Scorsese picked it up, and immediately read
Oh,
it and immediately decided, "Oh, dibs. I wanna make a movie about this."
mine.
Um,
Got it.
Mine, which we'll talk about that in a minute. Um, but yeah, published in 2017, written by David Grann. David Grann is a staff writer for the New York Times. He's been published everywhere, all of the big
Oh my
magazines.
god, yeah.
He's written, it's like 6 or 7 books. He's written a lot of books,
Most
all in
maybe
this.
most famously, The Lost City of Z from 2009, published in
Yeah,
2009. Yeah.
yes. Um, and all of his books are this kind of investigative reporting,
Literary
and
journalism,
yeah,
that kind of thing.
yeah, which is taking up, I mean, that sort of thing takes up a pretty big section of my bookcase. But he manages to keep it, like, fairly, like, it feels like a narrative, like, he's just telling a story, and it does read like a whodunit. I was, and I feel silly, but I was caught off guard by one particular character, only one. I spoiler alert, was totally on board with Ernest at the beginning, and I was like, "Okay,
Aw.
well, I really don't like." I didn't know anything yet. I had 0 information for who was really doing all of these big bad things, and I didn't know who the mastermind was, but I had a very, very good idea based on virtually nothing. But I wanted Ernest to be a good guy. I wanted
Yeah.
Ernest to be my man, my little goofy Ernie, and that's not what happened, and I feel pretty dumb that I was duped by him.
Right.
But that was kinda genius because David Grann wasn't even telling me to like him or care about him. There wasn't, like, any I wasn't even being pushed emotionally in one direction or another. That's just how I decided to read it, I guess. But the way that the information is laid out really just lets you discover things, like, almost in chronological order of
Right.
how it happened, which was genius. That was awesome. That made this story, like, so rich.
I think it's really interesting how he chose to write a true story, right? It's a true story. There are some public records, right? There are still a lot of loose ends, I guess, because the murders and the racism was so systematic. Like there's just a lot of very unsettling, unsolved aspects to the whole situation. But like the core cases, the ones that have been solved, the ones where people were convicted, that's all like fairly well recorded, or at least as good as we're gonna get at this point. But he still chose to write the story as a whodunit, as a murder mystery, as a you know we're staying close to like kind of our main protagonist Molly, um, and close to her family, and she was in the dark until the trials. She didn't know who was committing these murders, of her sisters and her mother, um, and
And Henry Roan and
and
everybody else that she
her
knew.
first husband.
Her first husband, everybody.
Yeah, her first husband, her cousin, like just her whole community, right? Like, and it's like even if it's someone who's not actually related to her or isn't in her like closer circle, it's still part of her larger community of like, I think there were 2,000 names on the original Osage scrolls, right? And it's like,
Mhm.
man, if they killed 100 people, like that's a significant percentage. If they killed 2 people, that's a significant percentage. It's not acceptable no matter what, but it's just like just seeing members of your community being systematically murdered and then no one's there to help you. All that to say is typically like nonfiction, right, doesn't get to uh keep the facts close to the chest, or like hide the cards like that, because it's nonfiction and we're supposed to be true and honest and get to the truth of it, in the most true way, I guess.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed that Gran let us discover the bad guys. I couldn't wait to learn who the bad guys were. Like, I just couldn't stand it. So like
Did you Google it?
oh yeah, after like the second page, I was like, all right, who's the bad guy? And I was like, oh, it's Hale. And I don't know if you remember, but while you were reading it, I was like, do you want me to spoil it for you? Because I was peeking at your book notes, and I was like, your book notes said something like, not too sure about this Hale guy. Right. And it's like, oh, he
Yeah,
sounds
like immediately.
okay,
Like that
but
was my
a
first.
little sketch. And I was like, oh, she knows. Like, I won't
And
ruin
that
it.
was like in the first like maybe 15 pages. And
Right.
like literally I remember the moment I read like, oh, he went to Oklahoma and he lived in dirt and then he got cows and then he had money. Look at him go. And I was like, I don't like it. I don't know why I don't like that. My whole family has, raised cattle and stuff. I don't know. I didn't like his face.
Yeah. It takes a few generations to like,
Yeah.
I would think, to build wealth like that, typically.
Yeah. So I was just like, how do you do that? How did he do that? And I mean, sure, circumstances back then were probably a little bit different as far as building wealth, but I just didn't trust him from the get-go. Again, based on nothing. I was being mean, but then that just all got confirmed, so I don't feel bad about it.
Right. Yeah.
So why do you think David Gran was the one to write this? Like, why him and not an Osage writer or someone who is native, like another indigenous person? Why was it David Gran? Why do you think?
Well, I mean, I think an Osage author totally could have written this book. And I think there's still room for an Osage author to write a book about this topic if they wanted to. I can also see how the topic would be like potentially like really traumatizing for someone of the Osage community to dig into and to research. I think for any person it would be really traumatizing, but especially if it's like these are your ancestors, these are your community ancestors, right? Like but David Gran specifically, like, I mean, we talked about kind of his literary clout, I guess, or his writerly clout. So, he has that to back him up. So if he shows up in a town and is like, "Hi, I'm David Gran. I wrote this book and I'm researching this other thing," like people might not like throw him off their porch. So certainly like that ethos gave him maybe an in the community to be able to talk to you know descendants of survivors, descendants of victims, um and he also like apparently is just extremely well connected. Like he knew about the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA.
I only knew about FOIA from an episode of King of the Hill.
And I didn't know it was a thing at all. Like so he knew how to like request for files from the FBI. And I'm like, I would be terrified that would land me on a list somewhere and then I wouldn't be able to like shop online or something. I don't know. Like
He might be on a list.
who knows? Maybe I am.
Who knows? I don't know where to check the lists, but he might be on one. Or asking questions.
Right. And he's just like not concerned. Yeah, I mean, people know his name now. And I mean, they knew it before 2017 when this book was published as well, because of the lost city of Z. Anyway, so not only did he have like kind of the know-how on how to get that information, and he had the byline, I guess, to get like the access and to be able to be trusted and let in the door, get his foot in the door. But like he also had like people who were retired from the FBI, or retired from like the government who were like, oh yeah, like I can go get that for you. Like, let me call up my buddy kind of thing. And
Yeah.
so he's just like really well connected. And that's something that like someone who wasn't as well connected, like personally, might have had more trouble and a lot more red tape to get the information.
Yeah.
And
Well, FOIA is red tape.
right, FOIA's red tape, but it's like if he's also using like personal connections that to kind of like maybe not skirt the red tape, but like
Had to expedite it.
you know, he's well connected. And he also gave special credit to the historian. Is it Louis or Lewis? Do we know?
I think it's Lewis.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm going to say Lewis.
Okay. He gave special credit to the historian Lewis F. Burns and poet John Joseph Matthews, two Osage writers. So, like,
Mhm.
the Osage Reign of Terror, as these murders are sometimes referred to, like it is written about. It is there are like reference works. There's a novel out there. So I mean, it's written about in fiction too, but there are also nonfiction accounts. So you know, it's not like there's nothing on it. It's just it seems like maybe there's 10 or 15 like books or like creative works that exist, and like maybe there should be like 1,000 um or more.
Yes.
Right?
Just
Like,
more. Just more.
yeah.
Because I'm not, and I don't want to sound like a true crime buff because I'm
Oh,
not.
me neither.
I'm not. I mean, and I grew up watching, like Cops and Cold Case Files or whatever the heck. I did. I totally did. I was such a little creep as a kid. And I don't want to sound like a true crime buff. I'm not. But I do want more information on this.
It only scratches the surface. It's a very satisfying scratch, I will say. But like, you know, my back's still itching a bit.
There's got to be more. And I want to hear more from surviving family members. I want to hear more, and they are in this book. We do get not an interview, but we do have quite a bit of information coming from Molly's granddaughter.
Margie Burkhart.
This happened 5 minutes ago. I mean, it happened 100 years ago, but 5 minutes ago is how it really feels.
100 years is really not that long.
So I would like more of the Osage side of things. That's what I want.
Right.
And nobody has to give it to me. I don't need it, but I would really appreciate it.
I guess I don't know if like an encyclopedia on it would really bring justice to the situation. I feel like
Oh no, of course not.
I feel like the Osage community has not received justice for this. And they need it. They deserve it. So I don't know what that looks like, but
I don't know.
Ideally more art, more appreciation for their culture, more support for their culture, to thrive and endure, and especially because some people decided it was time to eradicate it back in the 1920s because they were greedy for oil money. Okay, so I think we've talked about the kind of story that the book is telling. Do you want to get into the kind of story that the movie tells? We can talk about that for a little bit.
The movie is a why done it.
Yeah.
Scorsese just immediately showed us who was who and what they were doing and what they wanted. Like he immediately showed us everybody's cards, everything out on the table. It was a lot more gut-wrenching from the get-go. In an interview, he actually talked about how he wanted Leonardo DiCaprio to be Tom White.
That was the original plan. Yeah.
That was the original plan, was for him to be Tom White, and it was going to be more of a police or a legal procedural type thing, like a Law and Order SVU type situation. They had the script. He wrote it with who did he write it with?
Eric Roth is his co-writer on the script?
Yes, with Eric Roth, because Eric Roth writes everything. So they worked on the script and they just weren't feeling it. And then the more Scorsese learned about it, he decided that their story was focusing only on the white characters. And so he decided that he wanted to try to center it a little bit more on the Osage people. I don't know if he did that exactly, but it
Yeah.
sounds like it was better than the original plan. It's not mine to give, but I'll give him that.
Right.
It sounds like he was putting in the effort, and he did work directly with the Osage people on this movie. And a huge group of Osage went to the premiere in Los Angeles, and the photos are really cool of all of that. But anyway, so DiCaprio, no longer Tom White, and now he is Ernest, and he is way too old to play Ernest. Everybody is too freaking old.
I mean, I feel like Lily Gladstone is an excellent Molly. Like she looks the part. Like, I mean, it's all good.
Yeah, she was great. Everybody else is so damn old.
DiCaprio is like the age that Hale was, I think.
Yes.
And looks like he
Yeah.
could have been Hale. But
Yeah.
the problem I think with the movie is it's like, well, it's Leonardo DiCaprio. He can't be in a supporting role if he's in a movie. He has to be the main character. So he has to be the lead actor. So whatever part he's playing is the lead part. If he had been Hale, then that would have also changed the story. It would have been, I guess, more gangster. Or more about the gangster and the crime of it. And Robert De Niro did a great job being Hale. It's just like he is in his 80s and Hale was not that old, right? Like Hale lived to his 80s. He got to live to his 80s and died in a nursing home in Kansas somewhere. He was Wichita. But he wasn't in his 80s when he was murdering people or masterminding the murders of all of these Osage people. So, yeah. But it's Leonardo DiCaprio, so if we're going to focus on Molly and Ernest's relationship, then he gets to be Ernest rather than someone else. And I mean, I don't know. Lily Gladstone is such a phenomenal actor, and I feel like she commanded every scene she was in. So I don't know that someone who was less of an actor than Leonardo DiCaprio could have stood up, really stood their ground in a scene with her. She was amazing.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, I just kind of wish she was the lead actor, right? I wish it was her.
Put Leo in a supporting role. We want Lily.
Right.
Yes, we want Lily. We want Molly.
We want Lily.
She was awesome. And just the side eye that she kept giving. She wasn't even saying anything, but just the way that she looked out of the side of her face, basically. And it's just I know everything that she is thinking right now. She made it look so effortless.
Right. And she was totally in control as an actor, on the screen. That's what I mean. But she commanded every scene she was in. I could not look away from her. Ernest DiCaprio, be damned. I guess something else to note is that the shift to move Leonardo DiCaprio from playing Tom White to playing Ernest Burkhart also was encouraged by Molly's granddaughter, Margie Burkhart. She also, in a conversation, Scorsese talks about in this interview which I guess we'll link in the show notes. Not, I guess. We will link it in the show notes. She helped kind of convince him that the heart of the story was their love, their marriage, which is just really, really complicated, for me to wrap my brain around. But I mean, I don't know. I trust her that she believes that her grandparents did love each other. It's really, really hard to believe that.
It's hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah. And I think that's maybe the problem of the movie. If we want to quote a member of the Osage community, I believe he's a member of the Osage community, Christopher Coate, from a Vulture article, which we'll also link in the show notes.
Yeah, and he was a language consultant.
Yeah, he's an Osage language consultant on the film.
Yes.
He told The Hollywood Reporter on October 19th, 2023, that Martin Scorsese, not being Osage, I think he did a great job representing our people, but this history is being told almost from the perspective of Ernest Burkhart. They kind of give him this conscience and they kind of depict that there's love. But when somebody conspires to murder your entire family, that's not love. That's just beyond abuse. And then he continued to say, I think in the end, the question that you can be left with is how long will you be complacent with racism? How long will you go along with something and not say something, not speak up? How long will you be complacent? I think that's because this film isn't made for an Osage audience. It was made for everybody, not Osage. For those that have been disenfranchised, they can relate. But for other countries that have their acts and their history of oppression, this is an opportunity for them to ask themselves this question of morality. And that's how I feel about this film.
He like really wraps up like a lot of thoughts all just in that one quote.
I think he's spot on.
100%. And I mean, we'll talk more about their love story, their quote unquote love story in a little bit, but I mean, it's not real love. You got it, Chris. You're correct.
Yeah.
I don't think, nope, not at all. So this movie, it wasn't made by an Osage director. It wasn't written by an Osage writer. And neither was the book. However, because David Gran and Martin Scorsese have the reach that they do, and they have the funds that they do, and their background, and just their collective skills to create these stories that will resonate with everybody that watches it or reads it. I think in this, just for this specific book and this specific movie, they were definitely the people to do it.
It feels like they were very self-aware in the process of both writing the book and making the movie, that, you know, hey, that they were self-aware of like their whiteness, and therefore like they really did their homework, they really did their research, and they also gave credit where credit was due. You know, from what I've seen in the interviews I've read, like with Martin Scorsese, right? Like he is constantly pointing to the team of consultants who are the experts. He's not the expert. He's relying a lot on their expert help.
He's the expert on making the movie a movie.
He maybe is taking credit for like the camera angles, but not the set design or the costuming or, you know, just
language or the story,
right,
or
right,
the feeling,
yeah,
and the culture that's depicted.
yes.
Yeah, it's not like, oh God, I can't even think of another movie right now because my brain has been all Killers of the Flower Moon for the last
right, like
minute.
month.
Yeah, it's not like Peter Pan where they just make up a bunch of weird crap and be super, super freaking racist.
Yeah,
You know, I feel like, and again, it is not my place to make this judgment, but just from what I've read, for the most part, it seems like they really, really tried. And this is such an important story to get out there.
right,
That I think there's a ton of value in it.
right. And yeah, I mean, totally acknowledging our own whiteness. Like, we're not the authorities to talk on whether or not they did a good job of being white, telling a non-white story. So that's not for us to like really like judge and determine. I think objectively we can look at it and say, well,
probably, yeah.
But no, I think your point about the fact that both of them just had they have the reputation and the connections and the honestly the clout. I keep saying clout, but literary clout,
it is
cinema clout, film clout. They had that to make it happen, to make both things happen, and for them both to be sensational. And I want to say that in like a not
a gentle way.
Yeah. Like I don't want it to be like it's sensationalizing these murders, because I don't think either of them are doing that, but just like maybe phenomenal is a better word, but
they've given the story a greater reach than it's ever had before.
Right. Yeah,
Yes.
that's a great way to put it.
What do you think the movie would have looked like if it were written from the Osage perspective, though? If it wasn't Eric Roth and Scorsese writing it?
Man, I don't know. I kind of wonder if it would be more about um, the community's struggle with like needing help from the federal government. Um, because the book and the movie both talk about how both show and write about how the Osage, like, they sent a representative to Washington D.C. That representative was murdered like the night he arrived. So he was clearly like followed all the way to DC by people from in this community of killers in Oklahoma. And when so their representative, and actually he was he was white. He was a white representative. He was married to an Osage woman, so he was respected in the Osage community, or appeared to be anyways. He was you know he was part of it. He was married into it. So um as a white
Well, he was
person.
married into it, and we're going to bring him up again, but he was married into it, but then he actually genuinely was a helpful part of the community.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, he was
That's the
murdered, so
difference.
he wasn't like a part
Yeah.
of the ring of killers. So they sent him. And then a few years later, like a whole group of Osage community members went to Washington, D.C. themselves to meet with President Coolidge and like just plead for help. And, the movie shows Molly in that group. And the book doesn't talk about Molly going. Timeline wise, it seems like we might have been in the phase where she was being poisoned with her insulin shots. And so, I mean, obviously she was an extremely resilient woman. So would not doubt like her strength, but man, that would be arduous to travel from Oklahoma to DC via train while you're being slowly killed by nondescript poison.
So I think if this were to be created by an Osage writer, Osage director, like if we just took this movie as it is right now and just flipped it a little bit, I think that there would have been way more of a focus like within the Osage community. Like it absolutely would have been from their perspective, and therefore I don't think we would have seen as much of Tom White. I think we definitely would have seen more from like the tribal elders, because we had some really good quotes from them
Mm,
in the movie. They said, "We can't turn to the county to help us. We can't go to the state of Oklahoma to help us." And why we ever thought they would, I don't know. We were here before them. This is our homeland we came to. We've all got to realize this evil that's come here. You have something at once. And then this is the one that really killed me, this line. We never prayed for the good life. We just prayed for life.
yeah.
I want to see a movie about that line.
Right.
Another quote from later, they were all gathered again and talking to, I believe it was Tom White. And they said, in the old days, we would fight these people. If we could find these people, we would kill them.
Right. Yeah, no, they were talking to Tom White. That was like in the like
Yeah.
barber shop pool
Yeah.
billiard hall thing
Yeah.
combo.
Because Scorsese focused so much of the story on the white people and on Ernest and even of Hale and Tom White, all of that, I think there's so much room for another movie. This was only, I mean, like, yes, he did give a decent amount of screen time to Molly and the Osage people, but there's so much room for more of that.
Yeah. On the first watch of the movie, I was kind of pissed because I felt like once Molly started to become ill, I felt like her only presence on screen was just like a few seconds or a few minutes of like just her being sick in bed. And I was like, I just wasn't happy with that. I was like, she's too strong of a character. She deserves more screen time. She deserves better screen
Mhm.
time, better quality time. Um, but then on the second watch, like, I don't know. I don't know if it just, since I'd seen it before, I knew what was coming or what was expected. But on the second watch, it still felt imbalanced. But I guess I was able to like recognize the challenge of the acting in those scenes where she I mean, you could just lay there and be sick, right? But she didn't do that. She was writhing in pain, like I don't know, her acting was just phenomenal. So like, yeah. But no, I think a movie from the Osage perspective would have hopefully a lot less white people in it, and
Yeah.
a lot more Osage, I would say, characters. I don't know how many actors or how many actors would be Osage, but
Lily Gladstone, she's not Osage, she's Blackfoot.
of
But she did learn the Osage language.
Nez Percy,
And Nez Perce.
Nez Pierce. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, she's Blackfoot and Nez Perce, but she did learn the Osage language for the movie, which I don't understand how people can just learn a new language just like that. My brain don't work like that.
A lot of actors in this film learned. I doubt any of them are probably fluent in Osage.
Yeah.
But I mean, they certainly learned their lines in Osage. They had lines in Osage. And what I found to be interesting was sometimes the lines in Osage were transcribed at the bottom. We had the written words, and then sometimes they weren't. So like really early in the film when Hale Ernest is brought back to Hale's home by Henry Roan. Henry Roan picks him up at the train depot, drives him all the way to his uncle's, William Hale, which that drive is really just awesome because Ernest is like, whose land is this? And Henry Roan's like, my land. And Ernest's like, your land? He's like, yeah, my land. And it's like, yeah, you're on his land. Get off.
Did you have no information before moving here? Did you fall off a turnip truck? What's your problem?
Right. Somebody, yeah. Anyway, so like when Ernest is like walking into the house, like Hale and Henry are talking to each other in Osage, and I don't know what they're saying. It's not transcribed for us. There are no captions at the bottom for that scene.
Yeah.
But there are captions later on down in the movie. So it's interesting when they choose to do the captions and when they choose not to.
I think they do that because whenever Henry and Hale are speaking in Osage in front of Ernest, he hasn't heard the language before. So he doesn't know what they're saying at all.
Right.
Therefore, we as viewers are also not going to know what they are saying at all.
Fair.
And because he did learn,
Yeah.
he did learn the language, and then we get more subtitles along with him.
That's fair. I feel like there's a scene later on whenever Molly hasn't quite made up her mind about Ernest yet or not, and she's just kind of sitting with her sisters, all of her sisters, and they're just chit-chatting, and one sister's like, he's a snake, and another one's like,
I love that scene.
He's like a bunny. Well, yeah, because it reminds you of your sisters.
Yeah.
And then she's like, no, he's the coyote.
Coyote wants money.
Right. Coyote wants money. And she knew it. She knew from the get-go, but she was also like, coyote kind of cute, I think. I mean, she didn't say that, but that was the vibe.
It was implied. Yeah. 54-year-old coyote cute, or however old he is now.
I think he's only like 48.
What? No, he's not.
No?
Hold on.
Okay. How old are you, Leonardo?
I'm pretty sure he's like old. I'm looking right now. Okay, he's 48. I said 54.
I was right. He's 48.
Oh my
Our sincerest apologies. Oh.
I'm not apologizing for anything. He's too old for this part.
That's fair. Man, I Googled him, and the very first picture, he's got like a terrible neck beard. Oh.
I think he's taken a break from looking presentable.
Really?
Yeah.
Guys, I've been an attractive man for just too long, so we're gonna grow some facial hair that's not appealing.
See, I
Uh,
never found him attractive whenever he was younger, ever. Whenever
oh,
he had, like yeah, like Titanic, ugh, I don't like
no,
that. He looks like a stretched out, beautiful toddler. It's just I am not into that. I don't know. I think I need a little bit more chest hair. I need just I need him to go through puberty first. I don't know. I just did not find him attractive at all. And this isn't me being bisexual or anything. Like I just genuinely never ugh, ever. And I do like pretty boys. I like pretty girls. I like pretty people. But I remember sitting there watching Titanic and everybody around me being like, "Oh my gosh, he's so hot. I love him." And I'm just like, I could pick him up and throw him across the room. Like he just I don't know. Not into it. But then as soon as he hit like 40, I was like, "Okay, this is good now. Now we're good."
interesting.
Good. So maybe I just like ugly old guys more. I don't know.
I mean, I was totally fine with young Leonardo DiCaprio. I recognize the attractiveness.
So how about that opening scene with the pipe person?
Oh
Because I
my
did read about
god.
it, and that's the one thing that, like, I struggle with the movie because I know that the movie, like, they also did more research on top of what they were getting from the book.
Mhm.
They did they did more research, and guess what? They didn't publish their research, so it's really hard for me to figure out, uh, what they were
Where is your bibliography?
yes, where your annotated bibliography,
Yes,
where
please.
is it?
I need the footnotes.
I'm sure it's somewhere. I didn't see any of their research, so I there's so many things where I'm like, that wasn't in the book because they were working directly with the Osage people. I don't want to say, oh, the Osage person who told you this is wrong because it wasn't in the white guy's book. I don't want to do that. Um, that would be stupid of me. I'm not doing that. I cannot stress that enough. Okay,
My god.
cannot stress it enough. Anyway,
I think
this
our position here, right, is I mean, our whole goal here is we're talking about a book, it's been made into a movie, and we're talking about the differences, the similarities,
yeah.
we're even maybe like hoping to like discuss like why was this made for like is this a good story to be told on screen? Like hint for this one? Yes, absolutely. Um
Yes, and also, I have issues with it though.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah. Yes.
yes,
Even a good movie can have bad parts
totally, totally.
and issues.
Right.
So with the pipe person at the very beginning of the movie, this wasn't in the book, but I think that it was a really great way to, illustrate what was happening, and explain that, they were losing their culture and their language and their land all very, very quickly without being just a big chunk of exposition.
Right.
There wasn't a character standing in a field saying, "Oh, yeah, this happened, and then we got pushed away, and it's awful." Instead, it was turned into a ceremony, and I couldn't find, uh, anything about this as a ceremony, and also, it's so hard to find a good source online that I can trust
Right.
with these sorts of things, uh, but I did read in one article that it's very likely that this sort of ceremony took place. Um, but I loved it. I thought it was great. I loved all the little kids running around uh outside of their um
I like that they were peeking
yeah,
through and
yes, like
watching
that
it, even though clearly they weren't like invited to this ceremony because age
yeah,
or what have you.
or just because they're like you are your children and you're running around as children do. Get out. We're doing something.
Well, and I think it's important to note too that Molly's parents were like both full Osage and both like were forced to migrate right to
Mhm.
Oklahoma. Like they grew like previously they were living in like what is now Kansas. I'm not exactly sure where in Kansas because it's a big state. But so like
Well, and in
She
Missouri,
Yeah, and
right?
I mean,
Yeah.
the Osage Nation, I think, covers like all the way up to like Nebraska. I just think that the book talks about her parents specifically coming from like what is now Kansas and what we now call Kansas.
Yeah.
And then, they moved to this purchased land in Osage County, what became Osage County, Oklahoma. The Osage tribe specifically bought this land, and they purchased it. Like it wasn't a gift. It wasn't given to them, because clearly the federal government, when it gives things to people, it
Mhm.
thinks it can take it away when they want to. And the federal government totally would have taken this land from the Osage people once the oil was found, had they been able, like if the Osage people had not purchased the land. So
Well, that and the method of them buying it, uh, the government and everybody assumed like, oh, if every individual owns their own plot of land, it will be easier to then buy them off one by one.
right.
So they were still trying to systematically steal their land in whatever way that they could.
Yeah, or let, if the federal government was going to steal their land, they were going to let the local like white people do it. Anyway, so yeah, we do get this beautiful like just like heart-wrenching ceremony of bearing a pipe person. It does feel very
Solemn.
yeah, solemn is an excellent word. It feels very solemn, like, if I'd been wearing a hat, I would have taken it off. Kind of thing. And then we just cut to this like scene of like this little bit of oil in the ground, and it's just kind of like gurgling and bubbling, and then it just erupts, and we get this like rock and roll kind of jazzy tune, and then we get like
Jazzy.
it's like rock and roll, like, I mean, it's a jam. It is a jam.
It was oh my gosh, what's the word that I'm trying to think of? Outlaw country rock.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's like like the guitar is like it's a bad boy guitar. um, like it's a little rebellious, right? And it's just like we get this scene. I'm not sure how long it's probably a few minutes. But we just get this scene of like 6 Osage men just dancing, like their shirts are off, right? And they're just dancing in this, like, think of like children dancing in like a sprinkler, right? Not to infantilize them, but I botched the how to say that, not to make them seem like children. They're not, right? But they're just,
Infantilized.
yes.
Yeah, no, it was so joyful.
Oh
Oh, it
yeah.
was because I mean, it was beautiful because we went immediately from this very sad, solemn scene of a funeral, of a ceremonial funeral, right? For their culture and their children and their land and everything, and then we immediately go to, the oil dance party, which was awesome. It was beautiful. We went from everybody's stealing their land and their lives from them, and then they finally got some kind of win. And the book did talk about how the oil was considered a cursed blessing.
Yeah.
They did know that the oil wouldn't be around forever. They knew that they eventually probably wouldn't have fancy things. They knew that it wasn't permanent.
Right.
And one Osage chief even said, one day all this is going to be gone. We won't have the fancy things anymore, and then we'll actually be happy again. So,
Yeah.
yeah, beautiful. I loved that scene.
Right.
I thought that was awesome. It was just a glimmer of hope. It wasn't a glimmer, it was a giant burst of hope
Right.
for them.
Yeah. And so I think an important thing is like the opening scene of the movie. The movie kind of took like a chronological approach mostly. We definitely had some throughout the
Mhm.
movie, had some like flashbacks, or I don't think we ever flashed forward or anything, or not
No,
really any
I don't. Well,
foreshadowing.
I mean,
Um
the very, very last scene, but
yeah, I guess the very last,
that's
near
it.
the very
Yeah,
ending, which we'll talk about
yeah,
later.
which we will
Um
talk about later.
we will talk about openings and endings, but the book kind of starts in media res. Like it starts with the very first paragraph is like place writing. It's really setting the place. It gives you right away like why it's called Killers of the Flower Moon. It explains what the flowers are, what the flower moon is. Like it's a
Mhm.
beautiful paragraph, and then like we jump right into Molly Burkhart and like her family.
Yeah.
We jump right into essentially the day that actually no, we're 3 days after um Anna has disappeared. Her sister has disappeared. So um we're in 1921. Like we're not, because the Osage were forced to move to Oklahoma in like the late 1800s. And then I don't think that they discovered oil until like the 19 teens. That sounds right.
Mhm.
So 1920s, they're settling into their new wealth, for sure at that point. But so you know there's a difference in what makes a compelling start to a movie and a compelling start to a book. And um, David Grant's, because I think he's telling a different story, because he's telling a murder mystery, a whodunit. He does need to drop us right and on the first page. Okay, here's our mystery. A sister has disappeared. Where has she gone? What's happened to her?
So let's talk about the excessive violence.
Oh my god. I don't want
That's
to.
honestly my big issue with it, and everybody else's big issue with it is the excessive violence, because we start the movie out immediately with, 5? Is it 5 people?
One,
1,
two,
2,
three,
3,
four.
4, 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 men, 3 women.
Yeah, immediately with 5 very quick in succession murders. And the camera doesn't cut away. Like you watch these people die one right after another. And all but one of them, no investigation, all the way down to Sarah Butler, who we watch get shot outside in front of her house with her baby,
Yeah.
and they ruled it a suicide.
Right.
I don't know how necessary any of that was, because we don't you can insinuate violence a whole lot more whenever you're dealing with real people, right? Because these were real people. This isn't just a movie, this isn't made up. They're real,
Yeah.
because the story needs to be told, and it is a very violent story. So I wonder how else they could have done this. How else they could have portrayed the murders without straight up gratuitous violence. There was a Vulture article that talked about Devery Jacobs. She's on Reservation Dogs, which is an awesome TV show. Very funny, but also completely heart wrenching. She put out a series of tweets about the movie. She said, "I don't feel that these very real people were shown honor or dignity in the horrific portrayal of their deaths. Contrarily, I believe that by showing more murdered Native women on screen, it normalizes the violence committed against us and further dehumanizes our people." And I 100% agree with that. Uh, Women go missing from the reservations all over the place all the
Yeah.
time, and they still go unsolved.
Yeah.
So
Into present day.
I
That's not
into present day, right now.
it's a historical
Yes.
precedent, but it's also still happening.
It's just upsetting and unnecessary. Like I don't think we needed to see and hear Anna's body the way that we did. I don't think we needed to see Rita's body the way that we did, especially at the angle.
I don't think we needed to see the back of her head, right? Like,
No, we did not need to see that.
it could have just been the person who found her and like focusing on them and like their instant grief of finding Rita and she's deceased.
I would rather these very real people were honored, not turned into a spectacle.
Right.
Right, and the book is also violent. It is. But there's always more of a distance whenever you're reading, and I don't think any of his descriptions were, like, over the top visceral either.
No, because his descriptions
Yeah.
were, I mean, it was journalism. His descriptions were essentially, these are the facts. These are the facts as they're known.
It wasn't over the top descriptive. I think that the information that he gave us was necessary. It wasn't pleasant,
Right.
but it was necessary. So, like, whenever he was describing the smell of Anna's body,
Yeah.
he wasn't over the top with it. He wasn't trying to shock anybody.
Right.
And I don't know if Scorsese was trying to shock anybody. I don't know, but it definitely felt that way.
Yeah, and I think I mean, it was shocking. Um I don't know if the violence of showing so much violence was how much of it was necessary and how much of it wasn't. Um but I wonder if not really. I wonder if because Leonardo DiCaprio was the lead actor and so we're kind of seeing things through Ernest Burkhart's perspective.
Yeah.
And if we want to talk about the Rita scene, right after Bill and Rita's home is blown up and it's in shreds, um, Ernest, rather than rushing to go help, he just rushes to go look. And I mean, he's visibly horrified at what he sees, but um, so like we are actually seeing Rita through his eyes in that scene, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So I don't know how, and at the same time, we also know that like he's complicit in that murder and in her death and in her how she's being shown on screen. So yeah, maybe it is intentional for it to be so shocking because we're getting a scene through his perspective, through literally through his eyes. Um, and it's his own damn fault because he's the one who, I mean, Hale ordered him to order the hit essentially to press go, but he is the one who pressed go.
Do you think the movie was telling the story honestly, or do you think it was re-traumatizing people uh, with all the on-screen violence towards the Osage people, and especially the women? I feel like we saw a lot. I mean, it was Molly's sisters, and her mother, so I feel like maybe it was leaning a little heavily towards violence against Osage women. But do you think it was being honest, or do you think this was all just re-traumatizing?
I think the movie was trying to be honest. So again, that back to my what I said earlier, A for effort, maybe type of thing. And I mean, it was certainly traumatizing to me as a white person. So I would imagine it would be traumatizing or re-traumatizing for members of the Osage community. But I mean, I can't speak for them. So um I I think that the story in and of itself though is traumatizing.
Oh, 100%.
So it's like to tell an honest story, you I don't know how you can not experience that. I don't know how to tell that story or how one would tell that story without with distancing or removing the trauma. Like that's integral to it. So, yeah, that's a really tough question.
Yeah.
It's really hard to
And I don't
answer.
yeah, and I don't think we are the people to answer it, but I'm just gonna make an educated guess that it's a yes.
Yeah.
It's a yes. It is definitely traumatizing. Um,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I,
Mhm.
the movie's claiming to try to be a love story about Molly and
Mhm.
Ernest, about their love and about
Mm.
their marriage. And, at that, I don't think if that's the case, I don't think that we get enough interior narrative or we don't get close enough to like Ernest and Molly to really truly see that side of it. Like, yes, we get good banter between them, and it's fun to watch them act with each other, play off
Oh
of one
yeah.
another. It's fun to
Yeah.
see them in a scene together, but like, I don't know, we're not really invited into that love story.
Not the love part of things. No, we're definitely seeing, just we're seeing him be, cute and driving her around and being a little dumb earnest and everything. And we do get the scene uh in her house where she invites him in for food.
Mhm.
And then they sit there in the thunderstorm, which I have things to say about thunderstorms with the soundtrack and everything. Um and just the sound design in general. We do see that, but that's pretty much it because it's this movie. The pacing is weird. It just goes so fast. It's very very, and you even mentioned that you felt kind of like it was in vignettes.
Yeah, on the first watch,
Yeah.
I was like, "Man, this is like vignettes." It's just like, stop moving around. Like, hold on. Let's stick here for a minute.
So in the movie, we're definitely getting jerked around emotionally a little bit, I think. It's just different whenever we're watching it on screen versus reading it in the book. Because in the book, I was on board with them because that's what I was told. I was
Mhm.
told, oh, yeah, they love each other and they have a marriage. And I'm like, awesome. I love their love. But then you see it on the screen, it's harder to believe it. And maybe he did love her. Maybe he did. I don't know. The book kind of does a little bit uh of that emotional jerk around, right?
Yeah, it does.
And I do feel very silly and duped because I don't think that he really truly loved her. I think he was like a highly unintelligent narcissist. And he just
Mm.
thought that he loved her. I was seeing it as him being possessive. Like, so in his own sick way, he did love her, but it was him being possessive. He felt entitled to her money. He felt entitled to her family's money, and therefore he also felt entitled to her. That's what I think was actually happening, like, in real
Mm.
life. It wasn't quite that severe of what I just described in the movie. I feel like he was just kinda stumbling through it all, honestly. I don't think his heart was really truly in it.
Right.
Maybe I could see him as thinking he loved her, and it's easy to say that you love somebody and think that you are, but not it's very easy to think that, but also not be in love with them, right? So I think he thought he loved her.
Yeah. I mean, in the movie, we get that scene where Hale kind of pulls Ernest aside, like they're at Hale's house and stuff, and Ernest is like, I'm gonna propose to Molly essentially, and Hale's like, you really love this girl? You think you can marry her? You think you can be faithful? And he's like, oh yeah, like I really love her. I truly think she's a lady. Like she could be anything else.
Mhm.
I didn't know what to make of that, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. It's like it seemed like he was trying to like convince himself verbally or something.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I don't know. I don't know. He's just adamant throughout that he loves her.
Every conversation that he has with Hale about women is it's sexist and racist. I
Mm-hmm.
almost combined the two words together. Uh,
How would you
Sexist.
combine them?
I almost said sexist.
Say exist. Okay.
Sexist and racist, because even at the beginning of the movie, Hale says, "Oh, do you like women?" And he just lists off a whole bunch of different quote unquote types of women. Ernest even says, like, "Oh, I'm greedy." And every conversation that they have about women is like that because they see them as objects,
Right.
uh, and as paychecks.
And they also like and in that scene too, like at the very beginning, like that scene specifically, the very first scene with Ernest and Hale where they're in his like parlor sitting room area, there was something really interesting going on with the lighting where when we looked at Hale, we were facing away from a window. So like Hale's face was bright, but his background was really dark. And then when we were looking at Ernest, his face was like dark. We were facing a window. So his face was dark, but his background was really light. So it was like light and dark, white and black, kind of like on screen. It was high contrast, I guess is what I'm maybe trying to get.
Yes.
And it to me, it seemed like Hale was sussing out, like, how can I manipulate you? How can I make you my puppet?
How can I bring you into the dark side of the room with me?
Right. Like, how you know,
Mhm.
I'm masterminding this. And then Ernest is like, hey, man, like, I just got to town. Like, I was promised a bed and, like, food and stuff, and I don't really want to fuck that up. So, yeah, I like women. Yeah, I like money. Yeah, I'll be a cab driver.
Yes, and that kind of actually so with the lighting, that actually comes up several times throughout the movie, and actually in
The
one
light
of
in the
my
dark.
yes, the light and the dark, because skipping ahead a little bit,
Oh, sorry.
uh that's okay. No, I'm skipping ahead a little bit. You didn't, I am. I'm apologizing to me. I'm sorry, Emily, we're skipping ahead a little bit. Light and dark, in the scene during the trial, whenever, Ernest, Dum Dum, says, "Oh, yeah, I'll talk to the lawyer," and everybody and John Lithgow is so pissed, and so they go into that back room, and the back room is like everything is black.
Mm-hmm.
The walls are black, the furniture is dark, the fireplace is painted black, everybody's wearing dark clothes, and it's just all of these bright white faces all in the dark, and they're all asking him to lie and do this evil shit.
Right.
So back to the beginning of the movie, the lunch scene.
Oh my God, the lunch scene.
I know.
So this is like, okay, so let's talk about this. This is like
Yeah.
chapter 1 of the book, right? And this
Yes.
is 40
Yeah.
minutes into the movie.
Yes.
So that just to like,
Because we had to watch Ernest and Molly make out in a car first, and then we got to the luncheon scene.
I read one like interview or article or something that was like, oh, that's like essentially the author of the article was like, I felt like that was a callback to Titanic. And I'm like, really? Like,
Really?
Leonardo DiCaprio can't make out in the car with a woman and it can't be related to the Titanic? Like, this is madness. It will haunt him forever. Anyway. Yeah, no, I mean, we had to like watch him, you know, be, I guess, sort of sworn into this killer society. You know, like leading up to this point, we see him rob like an Osage couple, like rob them
Mhm.
with a hood over his head and at
And
gunpoint. And
then
then
lose all of the money in a poker game.
in a really dumb loss on, I don't even know poker.
Yeah.
And I knew that like his like 10 of hearts or whatever was like a bad card
Yeah.
to go all in on.
It wasn't an yeah, no.
So
Like, if you were just going to play a regular hand, sure, that's worth it, I think, to lose $1 over or whatever, but
put in one pearl that you stole at gunpoint.
yeah, just one ring, not the whole whatever.
Not all of it. Anyway.
Not all of it.
Not the whole
We're not
kit
a
and
poker,
caboodle. We're not a poker
no.
podcast.
We're not a poker
Don't know
podcast.
poker. I don't think I've actually
Well,
ever
we know-
played, but
I'm actually pretty good at poker.
okay. I think I'd
I
be
love
bad
it.
at it because you can see everything on my face.
No, you would be terrible at it. I would clean house against you.
Rude. Rude. All right, so the luncheon scene. This is
The luncheon scene.
40 minutes into the movie. In the book, it's in the first chapter, right? Because it's the day Anna goes
Like the
missing.
first few pages. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the last
Yeah.
day Anna's seen alive, essentially. At
Yeah.
least by her sister. So,
Yeah.
by Molly and some of her other family members who are also there. So, yeah. So in the movie, the scene kind of, I mean, does it really start with Lizzie's vision, or does it start a little? It starts a little earlier.
That's how I remember it. That's how I remember it.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't really
Yeah.
make that big of a difference. But so Lizzie's in the living room, or
Lizzie
the
is
parlor,
Molly's
whatever it's
mother.
called. Yes, and she's not feeling good. She's laying there. She's just hanging out because Molly loved to throw luncheons. She loved to host people.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a very typical thing happening at Molly's house. But her mother is laying down, just kind of relaxing and just not feeling good and just, being included. And directly in front of her across this big room is the table, the dining room table, and it's surrounded by neighbors, tons of little kids, and some of Ernest's family members. Actually, in the book, it's one of his racist aunts.
Mm-hmm.
In the movie, it's the racist aunt and the racist uncle like a racist uncle, and they just say some really just not so pleasant things. And I've totally heard people say the exact same sentiment.
And this is also an aunt who's visiting in
Yeah.
I think it's Hale's, like, no, maybe it's Hale's wife's sister or it's something. I don't know.
I
It's
don't
not
remember. Yeah.
it's not Hale and his wife. It's a different,
No.
because Hale is his uncle. Hale's wife would
It's a
be his
different set.
aunt-in-law.
Yeah.
We're from Missouri. I
different
say
set.
aunt.
I say aunt. It's a set of his of one of
Mhm.
his uncles and aunts, but it's not Hale, and they're just being little racist assholes, right? And so this table is full of white people in the movie, and Lizzie like blinks or opens her eyes and the table's gone. The table is gone. There's no furniture in the room,
Mhm.
nothing. It's just a bare empty room, and an owl comes through the window
Just
and jumps down to
flies
the floor,
in.
just flies in and is like, "Hello, I'm an owl." I tried to find definite information, and I couldn't. I found a lot of different sources, but I looked on powwows.com, which is all owned and written, like articles written by Native Indigenous people. And they had a whole long list all about owls
Mm.
and the different tribes and stuff. And so they take on a whole bunch of different meanings from tribe to tribe. Some believe that owls are a symbol of death, because owls are only out at night, nighttime death, that
Right.
sort of connection. Some of them believe that owls represent the afterlife, but also other tribes believe that they symbolize rebirth. Either way, big change. Owl is big change, basically. That's how I'm reading it as. I actually, fun little aside, I did find an Osage comic book artist and writer. His name is Skylar Ammons, and he wrote a series about a Native American superhero called the Owl. And,
Oh.
I love comics, so I'm on board with that. That's really freaking cool. Everybody should check that out, which I can link it
Yeah,
in the show notes.
we'll link it in the show notes for sure.
An owl flew in the room, and so she wakes back up again. Owl is gone. The table is now back in place with all of the white people. I think that
And it's not a
Scorsese.
Oh, I was just
I
gonna
think the Scorsese. What?
sorry. I was just gonna say it's not like a fade in, fade out. It is a boom
It is sudden.
shift.
Yes.
It is boom shift, room's gone, just her and the owl. Boom shift, room's back, and it's back to these white people, this table full of white people, mostly.
The symbolism hits you in the face,
It slaps you.
which I think also in the book, David Grant's book, he describes Hale as having an owl-like face,
Yeah, owlish face.
which I'm just choosing to make those connections from two different mediums.
There you go. Well, and I wonder how much of it, like I think it maybe adds to rounding out like the character too, like to
Yeah.
giving us insight into, like, I think Lizzie has like 10 lines in the whole movie, and I mean,
Mhm.
Tantu Cardinal is a phenomenal actor, and she also commands every scene she's in. I'm seeing a theme here.
I did want to talk a little bit about the lunch scene with Anna and Byron a little bit.
You mean Brian?
Bryn?
Mern?
We'll talk about that in a minute. Bryn? Brown? No, not Brown. Brian? Byron? Anyway, in the book, Anna only threatens to kill Brian, when he asks a servant out to a dance, which seems it wasn't quite as like over the top crazy in the book. It was just, oh, he asked girl out to dance. Anna said, if you do that again, I'm going to kill you.
Right.
And that was it. It wasn't this crazy, awkward scene. Whereas how in the movie it felt so clunky. It felt gross because instead in the movie, Brian Byron basically assaults a girl
Mhm.
over the lunch table in front of racist aunt and children, And then Anna threatens to kill them both. And I feel like they were making Anna out to be a lot more violent than she was described in the book.
Yeah.
She just felt like she was way more violent.
Either way more violent or like way like drunker or way more
Yeah.
combative as while she was
Combative.
inebriated.
Combative is a great word. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know that does the real person of Anna Brown justice, right?
No,
Like,
they
I don't
made
know if
her
that's
look like
fair.
this. They made her really, really sloppy.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Brian Byron.
Oh my God.
On his tombstone, I looked on findagrave.com. It reads Brian Bradford, quote, Brian Burkhart.
Byron Bradford.
Byron,
quote unquote, Brian Burkhart.
Yeah, Brian is in the nickname. So Byron Bradford Burkhart, kind of,
BBB.
and then it's a whisper of Brian.
I guess I would interpret that to mean that his Christian name was Byron, but sometimes people called him Brian.
And he still answered.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
which is really confusing because the book always refers to him as Brian Burkhart. Never does it mention his name could be Byron.
Yeah.
And that it gets really confusing when you get to the movie and you're like, wait, are they calling him Byron? And it wasn't till like the very end where I was like, they are calling him Byron. Like I knew for certain. I was uncertain until like the very last time they said his name. And I was like, oh no, it's definitely Byron. What the fuck?
And Horace was just MIA.
Oh, yeah. Ernest has a third brother. And Horace also lived in Osage County. And did he do dirty deeds for Hale? We don't know. He's not. He's mentioned in the book, like in one sentence. And then he's not in the movie at all. Like not even on screen at all. Never.
Maybe he said no.
How?
Maybe
How would you say no to Hale? How would you say no to Hale? He would be like, no? Okay.
Maybe he's just like, kind of like pussyfooting around with it. And Hale's like, Horace, you need to go do this. And he's like, okay, I'm in the bathroom. I'll be out in a minute. And he just stayed in there the whole time.
For decades? Yeah, cool.
For decades. He just hid. I don't know. But in the movie, whenever Molly invites Ernest in for dinner, like she gives him the hat and she's like, are you hungry? And he's like, yeah. And then he comes inside to get dinner. And Molly actually asks him, oh, your brother's Brian, right? And he just responds, Byron. and then I feel like Byron gets pronounced several different ways throughout the movie. Like everybody has a different way of saying his name. And I don't know if this is intentional, but I think it would be great if it was, because I heard Byron and I heard like Byron and Burn. I swear somebody called him Burn. Maybe somebody called him Barn. I don't know. But they just pronounced it however they wanted. And it kept me on my toes. But I thought that was just an interesting detail to go, your brother's Byron.
It was definitely like a cute scene. Yeah. And I mean, side tangent on that too, like people's accents kind of drove me a little nuts.
Oh, bonkers.
Because like we're not from Oklahoma, we're not from Osage County, but we're both from Missouri, which is very close. Mm-hmm. And we're from, like kind of the Ozarks part of Missouri. But anyway, like I know in the movie they were like, oh yeah, like Missouri and stuff. Like they would talk about it like Missouri. And
well, I'm like, you're even still not pronouncing it as bad as they did. True. Because they said Missouri. After
this luncheon scene, right, or towards the end of the day, we get this scene with Ernest and Brian, his brother, and they're away from the house. I don't know. I think they're like next to a shed or something. And Byron kind of just looks at him and says, "It's time for me to take Anna home." And Ernest, like, kind of stiffens and is like, "Okay." Like they were just kind of shooting the shit before that. And so then Ernest goes back into the house and like collects Anna and everything. And I think on the first time that we watched this, after that, we talked a little bit and I was like, Did you think that Ernest, because I think after the first watch, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but after the first watch, you were like, I think Ernest like was just too dumb to know anything for most of it.
That was definitely how I watched it the first time, but I was very busy taking notes
Right.
and also having an allergic reaction
Yeah.
to something in the theater.
Yeah.
So I was having a mild medical emergency and also not paying the right kind of attention to it. So no, I definitely did think that he was too stupid the first time, and then the second time I watched it, I was like, oh, never mind.
Okay.
Um,
That's what
yeah.
I was wondering. I was like, if on the second watch, if you were like, if your mind had changed at all about that. Like after the first watch, like I wasn't totally sure how complicit, how in the know he was with a lot of this. Because again, I was trying to take notes. I was trying to remember what happened in the book and, you know, assess like split second decision wise, like, oh, did that happen in the book? Like, is that true? Is that right? Is it different? You know, like kind of assess that in the moment. And maybe I should have just like turned that part of my brain off somehow. But
we were so busy paying attention that we weren't paying attention.
right. That's kind of, yeah. So on the second watch, I was like, I saw that and I was like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, he knows. He
He
totally
knows.
knows what he means.
Yeah, he might not understand like his emotions behind it, but he knows what's happening.
Yeah.
He knows what's going on. He knows who's going to do what. Like he absolutely knew that early in the movie.
Right. And then
100%.
yeah, and then he kind of like he walks back into the house, but then like when he sees Molly, like it seems like he kind of starts like stumbling and stuff. He's like, "Oh, Byron's gonna take Anna home because I'm too drunk," you know. And Molly's like, "Yeah, you are," and she's like not happy. She is not pleased with him.
Yeah. Because she just got done dealing with Anna being drunk, and in the book she was described as being a little bit belligerent, but with like everybody. Like she was just
Anna, yeah.
Anna was being a little bit messy.
Right.
But again, I think that they made her way, way, way worse in the movie.
Right. Yeah.
Way worse. So, yeah.
And so yeah, I mean I think in that scene he's pretending to be a little like drunker than he really is. Like sure, maybe he's tipsy or something, but I think maybe that's so that like Molly can't be like, well, why can't you take her home? Why does it have to be Byron or something? Or like, you know, maybe Ernest knows what's coming. So it's like, well, I'm off the hook because I'm going to be real drunk and I'm too drunk to drive.
Yeah.
So it
or
has to be Byron.
Maybe he was wrestling with emotions that he absolutely could not comprehend,
Right.
or guilt, and he didn't know what guilt was. So he was like, what is this feeling in my belly? I don't understand. I must be drunk. Let's stumble.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I think he absolutely, and I think that that scene really set up for the rest of the things that he did, because he was absolutely complacent in Anna's murder. 100%. He knew it was happening. He easily could have stopped it, and he didn't, because it was part of the plan, right? So he was okay with that. So then, of course, he's okay with blowing up Rita, with the nitro, and then he was. We're going to talk about the insulin, but he was obviously okay with all of it. He was okay with murdering people. That was just his first little taste of it. He wasn't even there, right? But it still eased him into the whole thing, I think.
Yeah.
He let it happen.
I think it's one of those things where it's like, it wasn't his idea, and it's not something I think he probably ever would have thought of himself.
No.
But he knew enough to know better, and to know that what he was doing was completely wrong. So I don't know. I feel like I've read some things, and I've definitely listened to some things where they're like, well, I just think he was like a dumbass and, kind of didn't know what he was doing. Like, no, he knew what he was doing. He needs to be held responsible.
Somebody said that he was just reprising his role in What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
Right.
And that's not the take that person thought it was.
Okay, so we have Ernest, who is most certainly complicit. He's not the mastermind, but he's a puppet. He's an agent in these mass murders, in this like cultural genocide. Um, and then he's asked by a team of doctors, a duo of doctors, the Schoen brothers, which in the book I thought it was like the Schoen brothers, but in the movie they pronounced it Schoen.
I've been pronouncing it shown in my head the whole time because that was easier
Yeah, I don't know.
for some reason.
I don't
don't
know
know.
which it is. Anyway, these two doctor brothers who could not be trusted and
Yeah,
clearly were like,
violating the Hippocratic Oath,
yeah, absolutely,
100%,
for
every
personal
day.
greed and gain and wealth and all that terrible stuff. Anyway, um,
Yeah.
Hale secures insulin for Molly. Molly's diabetic. She was, I guess, like born that way. I don't know. The book never really,
Mhm.
nothing ever really gets into like
Um,
how she became
no, they just
diabetic.
call it
But
well, I don't think they knew one way or the other. They just
oh,
knew that
that's
she was
fair.
diabetic.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they called
So
it the
she had
sugar
diabetes.
sickness at one point too.
Yeah.
Once insulin is created, Hale is somehow able to make sure Molly is able to get insulin. And the Schoen brothers are originally like giving it to her, administering the medication to her. And they're the Schoen brothers are shown mixing things in on screen. And then after she becomes rightfully skeptical and paranoid and
She's getting sicker.
yeah, and she's
Yeah.
just getting more and more ill. Um, she lays down some ground rules, and that's, we're not eating any food that's not prepared by like our staff. You are picking up my medication from the train. Nobody's going to be able to tamper with it from the train to when it gets home. And so we get to the point where Ernest is the one administering the insulin and also the one administering the poison that's being mixed in with it. Which to him, it's pitched, Hale and the Schoen brothers pitch it as, we're just going to slow her down. We're just going to
Yeah.
slow Molly down.
Slow her down so that she can't meddle with us murdering her family and community,
Yeah, because
basically.
we've got to pick them off one by one so we can get her money.
And Ernest was okay with this. He said, "Okay, that sounds like a plan. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Break." And then he did it. I have two different takes on this.
Mhm.
I think that if Ernest truly believed, or believed that he truly loved Molly, maybe he was being willfully ignorant, because what dumbass? Read between the lines, Ernie. Like, I don't understand. But maybe he was being willfully ignorant and he was just choosing to think that he was only slowing her down and that he wasn't actively killing her, right?
Right.
Maybe he really was that stupid, because I kind of took him as not necessarily as dumb as other people think of him, but he's not an intelligent person. Maybe he thought that he was going to be immune from the overarching plan, and therefore maybe his wife Molly was going to be somewhat immune from the big plan. He didn't want to believe that he was physically hurting her. I saw a ton of denial in him. And whether or not he didn't really know anything at all, I think is up for debate. Kind of like whenever because he drank some of the poison. Like, he didn't mix it all in with her insulin the way that he was told to. He poured it in his whiskey, and he drank some of it, and then he became ill. And I took that as him just like,
That was only in one scene. I didn't see him become ill after that.
he like held his belly and was like, "Oh, my tummy hurts," and then he laid down on the bed. I took that as him immediately being like, "Oh, I don't feel good." Either way, he drank it, and I think that was just as a confirmation to him, or an experiment almost, just to confirm what he probably already knew.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it could be either or. I think the really important thing to note here though is that in the book doesn't mention that Molly started taking that Molly ever, I guess, left the care of the Schoen brothers.
Yeah.
Of the Schoen doctors. She The book doesn't say that Ernest started administering the medication because she no longer trusted the medical doctors. That's where I'm like, is this like a Hollywood cinematic kind of like fabrication?
Yeah. Did they make it up for the sake of the story, or did they find information on this? Again,
Right.
where's your bibliography?
Where are your notes? I want your
Where are your
receipts.
notes? Yes.
Yeah, no, I mean that's something that maybe if there's ever a director's cut, which if there's not yet, there's not yet, but if it's not in the
Yeah.
process of being made, it needs to be.
Or not the director's cut, the director's commentary.
That's what I meant. The director's
There we
commentary.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That needs to be in there of, why they chose to show him on screen. What is this based on? Is it based on, did they find it in a diary somewhere or in a record somewhere? And that's like, wow, no, that's important. Because that
changes the story.
It changes the story a lot. Whereas if it didn't actually happen and it's just like a Hollywood dramatization, then I feel a little pissed, honestly. Then I feel like they're using this, like they're trying to make Ernest a complicated character when he's not. They're trying to make it complicated because it's like, oh, well, I love my wife, but my uncle wants me to poison her, so I'm going to, but then I'm going to feel bad about it and I'll give myself some of the poison. And so feel bad for me. And it's like, I don't feel bad for you because you're an awful human who has killed way too many people.
I mean, even one person is too many people.
I mean, you're a murderer. Yeah. I don't have sympathy for you.
No, I agree. I don't want to be sympathetic towards him. And I wonder what the movie would look like if they didn't even try to make him sympathetic.
Right. That's true.
Which, I mean, this is a Leonardo DiCaprio character. This is what he does.
Making non-sympathetic characters sympathetic?
Yeah, he does that. Or, I mean, he always, his characters are always like that exact brand of complicated.
Interesting.
For the most part. At least a lot of his more recent ones are.
So something that I think that the movie, I feel like we keep being like, well, the movie was like, oh, this was nice, but then it was like bad. Something that I think that the movie did really, really well that the book couldn't quite achieve just because of it has limitations because of the medium was the movie really brought the culture to life. The book is awesome. It's excellently written. And it also has just lots of like archival photos throughout the book, which,
and it has a lot of information too. Like it just very plainly says this was what they did for this cultural thing,
right?
And that's great. It's a wonderful resource,
right? And
it's not as pretty.
It doesn't feel like a textbook when you're reading it, especially because of the way that it's written with the whole whodunit kind of narrative structure. But it, it's limited in the medium because it's 2-dimensional. It's a page, and it's the to round out the dimensions to make it 3D or 4D or, to make it more dimensions, it requires the reader's mind. And, like I don't know what 1920s Osage County looked like, or couldn't really picture like the dichotomy of like, extravagant wealth and elaborate like wedding outfits, against like this prairie landscape, like that didn't come through in the book as well as it did on screen.
I mean, unless you're on like powwow TikTok, you probably don't really see a lot of these things, right? And I've never seen any kind of bridal outfit stuff. So I've never seen this sort of thing before. So again, increasing the reach and showing more people all of these things. It's beautiful. It's interesting.
Sad story, right? A lot of people died. A lot of people were murdered. A lot of people were buried. In the movie, we see like they place apples on the caskets, and we were kind of like wondering what that meant. And like looking that up, like it's in Osage customs in their tradition to send people off with like 3 days food for the journey to the happy hunting ground. So it seems like maybe that is a nod to that aspect of their
Yeah.
culture. And then they also have like the youngest family member walks across like the casket of someone in their family who's died.
Yeah, no, that was very interesting. And they were able to use the funerals to give us more information about what is happening. Because at the very beginning, whenever we have those funerals, there's a lot of Osage people there. There's people at the funeral, and it is an Osage funeral, or Osage combined with Catholic funeral.
Mm-hmm.
It's both cultures and customs together in one. But then at the end of the movie, whenever we have baby Anna's funeral, there's nobody there. There is no Osage custom happening at all. It is just an outdoor Catholic funeral.
Yeah. And it's
There's
just
nobody
Molly and
there.
Ernest, and then like some FBI agents or
Yeah.
future what would become the FBI, but at the time just Bureau of Investigation. They're just off in the corner.
So Bill and Rita's home exploding.
Not a true crime person, not an investigator, but from the shows that I've watched, I mean, I've seen like every episode of Bones, right? Like, it didn't fit the MO.
No.
It it seemed like a lot of the people who they were murdering, they chose poison or they chose guns. And the explosion was kind of an anomaly. And I definitely think the right people were accused, the right people were prosecuted. They should have probably been hanged for their crimes. Even though I have mixed feelings about capital punishment, but I kind of wish
I
Hale
also
hadn't.
have mixed feelings, but
Hale should not
I
have
would
lived to
like
his 80s. I'll say it.
No. He shouldn't have lived to his 80s as a free man.
No. Or
At
honestly,
all.
even as an imprisoned man. I think he was beyond reform. So I just,
Yeah. I know.
Um,
We don't have to debate capital punishment
right.
right now.
Fair. It's a
Yeah.
little early for that. So I kind of wondered if they were trying to throw people off their scent or something by like, let's explode their home instead. But I don't know. I mean, we can never know. Unless there's a hidden journal or something somewhere. But the interesting thing about Bill and Rita is that they had a clause in their will that if they died at the same time, Rita's head rights would go to Molly. I guess that's what I can't wrap my head around, right? If their typical MO was to murder people by shooting them in the back of the head, or just shooting them, then if you shot Bill and Rita same time, they would both die at the same time. Blowing up their home theoretically should have killed them both at the same time. However, it did not. Bill lived longer. Bill lived a few days, which I'm sure was just pure agony, because I think every inch of his body was burned from the explosion. So because Bill lived a few days longer, Bill inherited Rita's head rights as her husband. And then when Bill passed, his relative inherited from him. So Hale and his Goonies, the head rights did not go to Molly. So Hale and his Goonies didn't get to like.
They blew them up for nothing, basically.
Yeah. It's even more infuriating because we're not dealing with criminal masterminds, clearly. They are dumbasses. They're very stupid. And yet, they got away with it for so long because of systemic racism, because local government could be bought, or local law
local
enforcement.
Government was in on it.
Yeah, or part of it. They were pulling the trigger or sending the note to pull the trigger. And then there was no real like federal program to provide assistance for this. And then when there sort of was, it took them like a while for the cavalry really to come in. And even then, it was an awesome troop of like 8 dudes trying to wrangle this whole community of killers. So,
And they still didn't get complete justice.
no. And they still didn't solve, they still knew that there were further suspicious deaths. And, you know, well, we solved the big ones. We put somebody in prison. So, time to move on to the next thing so we can keep building our good reputation. Do you want to talk about Molly's guardian in the movie?
Yeah, so this was where it was interesting. So in the movie, Molly had a guardian, somebody in charge of her money through the whole movie, and it wasn't Ernest. In the book, whenever they got married, Ernest became her guardian and was therefore in charge of her money and how it was spent.
Yeah.
And I feel like it maybe would have been a little bit too much to put all of that in the movie just for time's sake. But also, I wonder if he were just in the movie, would they have been able to show his character still having incentive to murder all these other people if he was already in charge of this big fortune? Do you think that would have affected it a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wondered if Ernest, if I don't think it would have taken that long for them to show
No.
that he was now the guardian, right? Like it would have been one scene of him, of it all being signed over to him. It could be 2 minutes, and then like a couple reminders throughout that Molly has to ask him for $300 or whatever.
It could have literally been, "Oh, hey, Ernest, you're in charge of her checkbook now, right?" Yep, I am." There we go, that's the whole thing. They don't even have to show the background info on it or anything.
Right.
I do wonder if it would have changed the character and what the character wants and what they need to get it. I just wonder if he would have been more complacent in the movie.
I think it would have made him less complicated, right?
Yeah.
I think it would have
Yeah.
meant that, oh, like he's in control of her money. Yeah, he's guilty. Yeah, he doesn't have a conscience. Yeah, he's in it for the money, for the I mean, he's greedy.
Which he even calls himself greedy.
Very early on, yeah. Yeah, I think it would have made him less complicated. It would have made his motives clearer and left less up to interpretation for the audience. It might have changed the story just a tinge.
Yeah.
So, and
For
I mean,
sure.
you know, just as a fun, super fun side note is Mr. Beatty, who plays Molly's guardian in the movie. He's in the KKK. Like he's seen in a parade, in a KKK parade, just marching happily down the street. He doesn't even have like the white pointy hood thing on. And he's just like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" At one scene, Molly's at Hale's house and she's over for dinner. And she actually mentions to Hale that she's been talking with her guardian, Mr. Beatty. And Mr. Beatty's wanting to, Mr. Beatty thinks that, you know, the local riffraff are the ones responsible for these murders, i.e., local African Americans, local Black people, which I
Yeah.
don't think we really see any Black people on screen in this movie.
I don't remember seeing any Black people in this movie.
Yeah. So Mr. Beatty wants to get the KKK involved in solving these murders. So we have Molly saying, "Hale, like, what do you think about involving the KKK?" And Hale's like, "Well, I don't really support the KKK. Like, I don't really believe in their mission and stuff."
And it's like, that's nice. But
Yeah.
also,
Yes.
I think you're a little bit disingenuous here.
Right. And then later, after Bill and Rita's home is blown up, we see Hale and Mr. Beatty interact. And Mr. Beatty says, "I think you're exposing yourself too much here."
Yeah.
So Mr. Beatty is fully aware of who the local riffraff is. And he's fully aware that
Yeah.
it is not a white, not a Black person. It's a bunch of white people. So Yeah, that's real shitty. Real shitty, real complicated, real messy. I guess it's not complicated. Real racist. That's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, anyway, yikes.
Yikes, indeed. In the movie, we are missing two important people. We're missing W.W. Vaughn and we're missing George Bighart.
Yeah.
They're not in the movie at all. When George Bighart died, his head rights and fortune, it all went to his wife and his daughter, right? And there's a lot of questions about why he was murdered exactly and by who. And David Grant actually found the information that obviously there's not a trial for it or anything, so it can't be definite, but I think he pretty much figured it out. So whenever he died, his rights and fortune went to his wife and daughter. And his daughter did have a guardian over her spending, and that just so happened to be one H.G. Burt, who was a business associate of Hale. And Burt was also the guardian of several other Osage who were also murdered. And I think that Vaughn and George Bighart weren't mentioned because it probably deviated a little bit from the narrative that the movie was trying to portray. I don't think we would have had as much time to care about George Bighart's character the way that we did with others. Because, I mean, we were moving at a really fast clip through the whole movie. So I don't think having another storyline that wasn't directly related to Molly and her sisters, I don't think it would have fit in as well. Hale did want him silenced, and Hale needed Vaughn gone. He did, in order to prevent secrets from reaching the Bureau and him being found out, right?
Yeah, well, so W.W. Vaughn had been collecting his own evidence, essentially, for who he thought was responsible for these murders. George Bighart was poisoned, right? And so George Bighart was like dying in Oklahoma City. So W.W. Vaughn got a phone call from him. And this is all in the book. Obviously, it's nothing in the movie. George Bighart says, "Hey, man, I'm dying. You need to come see me. I think I know who's responsible. And I'd like to tell you what I know. I like to give you the information that I have so that you can bring justice to this situation," whatever. So W.W. Vaughn rushes to Oklahoma City, tells his wife before he goes, his wife who he has 10 children with. Tells his wife that there's some money in a safe as well as some evidence that he's been collecting, and goes to Oklahoma City. He's on his way back and he disappears from the train, and then his body's found later. And they couldn't determine if he had been killed and then pushed from the train, or if he'd been pushed from the train and that fall killed him. Either way, he was most certainly he died under suspicious circumstances. Is that
circumstances?
Yeah. So that's why I think if the movie were, obviously the movie's trying to tell a love story, it's not really doing a great job of that.
Yeah, it wouldn't fit in.
If it had been more of maybe a police procedural or a whodunit kind of movie, then I think these real people, I think, would have been portrayed in the movie and would have had some space.
Let's talk about the soundtrack. I love the soundtrack.
Me too. So good.
Oh my gosh. It was so, I've been listening to it just like in the background.
Too. Yeah.
Of working on all of this so that I can like stay in the moment. And it is just, it's phenomenal.
It is. It's really good.
And just the sound for the whole movie, period. Because like in the beginning, whenever Molly invites Ernest in and it starts like thunderstorming really hard, and she's like, "No, we need to sit here and we need to be quiet and just listen to the thunderstorm." And I love thunderstorms. I do that too, Molly. And makes him just sit there and be quiet, just calm down, just listen to the thunderstorm. And I love that, because then at the very end of the movie, after the credits, like during the credits, like it goes from music into thunderstorm, and it's a hard thunderstorm. I mean, I sit there until like the lights come on and they tell me to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Just hard thunderstorm. Beautiful. And then it finally fades out, and then it turns into like crickets, and you can hear a coyote in the background. howling and stuff. And oh, beautiful, calm night. Anyway, soundtrack, it was all written by Robbie Robertson, who was the former lead guitarist for Bob Dylan. Being concerned about Native people, Indigenous people working on this movie, his mother was actually Native, and she frequently took him to Six Nations Indian Reserve.
Mm-hmm.
Until his death, he still frequently went to Six Nations and other reserves and stuff and was still involved in the community. And he spent quite a lot of time in Oklahoma with the Osage people while he was preparing for the movie. And it totally showed because the soundtrack was perfect.
Yeah.
With a capital P.
At the very end, we have this, just like beautiful tribal song. I don't know if he wrote that one. I think it was performed by like the Osage tribal choir.
Yeah.
Is who gets the credit, but and that's what takes us out of the movie and into the credits and everything, and it's just phenomenal, so good.
More ending scenes. Let's talk about baby Anna's death and Ernest with his. I understand crying for your child. I get it. You should cry if anybody dies. I'm not saying that he shouldn't. However, where do you see the big issue in all of this, Jen?
Oh my God. So baby Anna dies. Precious baby Anna. I think she had like lung problems or something, probably because her mother was like being poisoned while she was pregnant and didn't know it. So awesome. Hate that. And so we cut, baby Anna dies. We cut to this scene. We have a lot of these scenes, right, where these Osage members they've died and they're peacefully resting like on a bed. And I mean, they're always jarring. The scenes are always jarring, but baby Anna was especially jarring because she's so little. She's like 4.
She was like wrapped up in a little blanket and just tiny little baby,
right,
on a bed.
Mm-hmm.
And Molly cries over her for like a second.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure she like cries over her much longer, but that's all we get to see. We see like 2-3 sobs,
and then it cuts to
a scene with
our boy Ernie in the jail, and Tom White comes to him to say, "Oh, your which of your kids had like lung issues or whatever? Well, she's dead." And I was in a row all by myself, so I took out my phone and I used my stopwatch and I checked, and Ernest sobbed on the ground, rolling around, writhing, and just sobbing for a minute and 8 seconds. It was like a minute and then 8.93 seconds.
Yeah.
He just chewed all the scene. And this isn't a knock on Leo or anything. It was, again, trying to make him a more sympathetic character.
Right.
And it didn't work at all.
Yeah. I don't feel sorry for him. I don't feel sorry for Ernest. I feel sorry for Molly. I feel sorry for baby Anna.
Yeah.
Whose life was like honestly probably impacted by the fact that her mother was being poisoned. So
oh yeah. Ernest did that. Did that.
It's his own damn fault.
Ernie did that. Yeah.
And and then Hale's like trying to like comfort him from the other cell, and it's just icky. It's just really icky.
Mm-hmm. And I think it was supposed to be icky with Hale for sure. Like I was, from like a movie perspective, I was on board with Hale being a creep.
Oh yeah, totally.
That's totally fine. But I think Ernest rolling on the ground and crying for as long as he did was just a bit over the top.
I think they wanted us to feel bad for Ernest and to like feel his grief. And I never had a child. I've never lost a child. I'm very attached to my dog, and I get extremely emotional when I think about him dying of old age. So
which is different.
It's extremely different, but that's the closest thing I have to a child of my own. That's my parallel there. So I can totally understand the pain and anguish of losing a child. I've lost a parent. I know what that kind of grief is like. Of losing someone who's so close to you. But Ernest is so racist, and he's just evil.
He's a murderer, so I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care about his grief, therefore I was less comfortable watching him experience it for as long as he did.
Right. I would have rather seen, well, I didn't want to see a minute of Molly grieving, but I
No,
mean,
because she just really broke my heart.
one more thing about Baby Anna, though, is the movie really seems to kind of play up that she's like her Baby Anna's death is a catalyst for Ernest switching sides in the
Yes.
trial. So
Yeah.
Ernest goes into this trial representing the prosecution. You know, he's going to tell the truth. He's going to point fingers. He's going to tell them who did it. And then first day he sits down and the defense attorney's like, that's my client. And the judge is like, is this man your attorney? And he's like, no, but I'll talk to him. Ernest flips to the defense, and then he's on the defense side, starts lying, you know, everything changes. And then he learns about his daughter dying. And also, something I want to point out is when Tom White comes in and says, your child has died, he goes, cowboy? No, not cowboy.
He doesn't care.
Is it cowboy?
He doesn't care. He doesn't care about the other two, because even then later he asks Molly, like, oh, does cowboy miss me? And she's like, yeah. So does Elizabeth, you asshole.
Right. So even then he's like, is it cowboy? Tell me it's not cowboy. It better not be cowboy. And then Tom White's like, it's the child with the lung problems. And he's like, oh, that's Anna. And then it just feels very fake and insincere. Anyway, all that to say is it seems like the movie really tries to amplify that, like, Baby Anna dies and then he decides, okay, I am going to tell the truth. I am going to try to be a good person finally, or something.
Yeah.
And
again, he's a narcissist.
Right.
I'm diagnosing him.
You're totally qualified to do that.
I am very qualified to do that with my English degree. I know what I'm talking about for reals.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so I guess the thing I want to highlight here is the movie makes it seem like very causational, right? Like A happened and that caused B to happen.
And therefore, there's a lot of and therefores.
Right. Whereas,
which is a great way to write the story, but
and the book, you know, being literary journalism, and it's not like, I don't think Ernest ever said, well, I decided it was time to tell the truth because my baby daughter died, and, you know, because there's not that level of testimony or something. The book doesn't, the book points it out. And the book says, well, Baby Anna died. And then, so basically Baby Anna died on like June 3rd, in the middle of the trial. And then on June 7th, Ernest slips a note to the like warden person, and who gets it to the prosecution's side and basically says, like, I want to talk. And then on June 9th, so 6 days after his daughter dies, he returns to the courtroom representing the prosecution's side. So, you know, it is definitely connected. I just felt like the movie
used it as more of a device than what happened.
Yeah,
it used it more as like,
it felt a little tricky in the movie.
I think they were trying to insert reason.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
And
so
and
I
I'm
didn't
just
like that as much.
And on the one hand, I don't like it, but also I see it from like a story standpoint. I'm like, that's gross. Good idea.
Yeah.
I like gross, messy characters. I do. But it's just like, again, we're dealing with real people. Therefore, I'm not really on board with it. Another thing that I'm not on board with is how early in the movie Ernest learns about Molly's marriage to Henry Roan. Whereas how in real life in the book, he doesn't find out about this until at the trial.
Yeah, I mean, like, for all we know.
Yeah, for all we know.
We don't.
For all we know. All of this is for all we know.
Right.
Don't take anything that I say as gospel truth. This is just what I read.
This is what
with
in the
my
book.
little eyeball.
Yeah.
was in the book, right? So, but I felt like it changed the characters and their motivations in the movie because he found out that Molly was married to Henry so early in the movie. I feel like that gave him more of a reason to want to see him dead. I feel like it gave him more of an excuse versus just going along with this scheme that his uncle had. I feel like it almost added a little touch of crime of passion. And like, yes, he did say in passing, he's like, wait a minute. So if they were married before, would that give him claim over some of
Right.
the fortune? Good question, Ernest.
Why don't you ask a lawyer about that?
Why don't you ask a lawyer about that, like little baby mouth guy, whose name I just can't remember
Kelsey
right now.
Morrison, what a dumbass.
I like how I can say baby mouth and then you don't name the actor, you just name the real person.
Yeah, I don't know what he looks like in real life.
I don't know. I think I looked up the pictures and like he was perfectly cast. It changed the motivations just a little bit, and just that kind of switch, I think, really affects a lot of things. And even if it's not like blatant in your face, I think it does affect the characters and their motivations like a great deal. Kind of like how making Anna sloppier
Right.
in the movie.
Totally.
It changes things, you know, and I've written about this before. It's almost like giving them more reasons and almost like trying to say, do you see, audience? This is why it had to happen. Look at it. In another story that's not real, it's at least just interesting. It's an interesting change, but it affects the characters.
Right.
Yeah.
No, yeah, there's ripple effects. There's ramifications to decisions like that for sure. When you're dramatizing things or like,
Yeah.
you know, making it Hollywood. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a question I have. And if Martin Scorsese wants to like email me
We'd
and let me
answer.
know, I would answer him very quickly. I'll just keep checking my phone for the foreseeable future, just in case. I don't know. He might. I'm not going to give him my email. It's going to have to be organic.
Or if he's working on his director's commentary, you know,
I guess I could wait for that.
We can give him some pointers on questions we have.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
we will send him.
And I think it's also important to note that, like, you know, a lot of people are going to be like, damn, dudes, you don't have to read it that closely or watch it that closely. And it's like, yes, but we do. We do. That is the
Always.
point of this.
I can't just enjoy things.
Right.
I need to dissect it. All right, let's talk about those ending scenes.
Oh my God.
Because there's two different ones. We got two endings to this story.
Just like basically. We kind of got like two beginnings.
Yeah.
You know?
Did.
Interesting. Yeah. So, okay, you want me to take the first one?
Sure, because I have things to add, but yeah, take it. Go for it. Tell me about the Ernie and Molly scene.
Ernie and Molly. Oh my God. So, you know, court trial ends, right? People are sentenced. Then we get this ending scene between Ernest and Molly, and then Tom White from the future FBI is kind of off in a corner. But Ernest and Molly are kind of in this side room, and they're kind of just chatting. And she's like, I think she's just trying to take it all in, right? She's just like, wow, I don't know you anymore. I'm looking at a stranger.
Well, because we've seen her face through all of the trial.
Yeah.
And again, Lily Gladstone does not say a word, because you're not supposed to whenever you're watching the trial. But you know exactly what she's thinking, and her heart is breaking through this whole trial. Yes. Everything that she's hearing is confirming all the things that she didn't want to believe. And then she gets in there, and again, we have Ernest asking about cowboy only, all of that crap, and then she asks him.
Yeah, she asks him, my medicine you gave me, what was in it? And he's like, insulin. And then he
like pauses for a very long time too, and then she
asks him more than once. Yeah. She's like, what was in those shots? Like, she asks him in a couple different ways, and every time he's like,
your medicine,
insulin.
Insulin.
your medicine, you know, and you can
Mhm.
you can tell on his face that like he's guilty. It's like a child. It's a child who's lying to you, and it's like,
And he no longer believes what he's saying.
right. Yeah.
He knows that he's lying, and he knows that she knows that he's lying. He's now lost everything, but he has one final lie for her.
Right.
And then she just stands up and walks away.
Yeah. She's not gonna take his shit. She's like,
Yeah.
you're gonna lie again more now to me, to my face,
After everything that she just heard.
after you killed my entire family? Like,
Yes.
yeah.
And I wonder if they were trying to make it look like she was giving him one more chance, or was she just trying to get this confirmation for herself so that she can have closure?
I think I took it as a closure thing.
I'm taking it as a closure thing because I don't want to think of Molly as somebody who would be okay with any of that, any of the
Yeah.
things that he did.
No.
And she wasn't okay with it,
No.
obviously.
No, she wasn't.
She wanted a confirmation.
I mean, I think she wanted one last testimony. She wanted him to look her in the eye and say, I poisoned you. Like,
Yeah.
that's what
Yep.
I think that's what she wanted. And then he is a fucking coward. So, on top of everything else, and could not tell her the truth because the truth is terrible. The truth was in the lie, I guess. She had her answer. Either way, she had her answer. Molly gets up, she walks out the room, and then Ernest kind of looks at Tom White, and Tom White's kind of like, man, you fucking made your bed. You know, like that's just what I see. Like nothing is said, but that's just like, that's in my brain. That's what's being said is like, you made your bed, lie in it. And then it cuts to totally different scene. Totally different. We're in a different like world almost like.
We're in a different decade.
Right.
We are several
Yeah.
we have moved on. And this is I kind of likened it to like the ending of like Stand By Me, where they say, oh, well, so and so became a circus performer and whatever did this. And then this guy, we never heard from him again. Like that kind of like 80s ending to movies. But instead of doing that, yeah, it's the radio play featuring Jack White and Martin Scorsese, Jack White of the White Stripes.
Yeah.
And it is the radio play, because radio plays actually came out of this whole story. It was the radio plays that were talking up the FBI and working almost as like an advertisement for the Bureau, correct?
Yeah. That's what the
Yeah.
radio plays were. They were an advertisement for the FBI, like, hey, look at us. We solved these murders. We're not going to tell you about the ones we didn't solve because, you know, we solved like 20 of them. It was a good alternative. Like I preferred that to, you know, pictures of the real people and like white text on a black screen of synopsis of the rest of their life or something. Like I feel like they took like a little bit of an artistic leap at the end that was still like they borrowed from actual events. Like there was a radio play. Feels like a very true, honest way to sum it up. At the end, that is more satisfying than a montage of photos, of archival photos and, you know, paragraphs of text kind of thing. So it was pretty neat. And then of course it ends with Martin Scorsese reading Molly's obituary, which she passed away at the age of like 50, which it pisses me off. It pisses me off that Molly, you know, only had 50 years on the earth, and like fucking Hale got to live to be like 82. And then I believe Ernest lived into his 90s. That's some fucking bullshit. That pisses me off. That pisses me off so much.
Knowing what I know of the world, shitty people tend to live the longest, and I don't know why.
It's not cool.
It's not cool.
Anyway, Molly
Yeah.
Cobb, you know, he reads her obituary for Molly Cobb, and then he adds something on at the end that there was no mention of the murders. I got chills just now. Whew. I got chills in the movie a lot, and I just got chills just now about that. So, you know, if that was Molly had a had already pre-written her obituary. Like, we don't know. Or if that's just how her family wanted her to be remembered on paper at that time. So yeah, she's more, Molly Burkhart is more Molly Cobb. Molly Kyle was her maiden name.
Yeah.
She is more
My girl Molly.
than the murder of her family, the story of the murder of
Oh
her
yeah,
family. So
100%.
and then from the radio play, we cut to this beautiful scene of like the Osage tribe. They're performing a song. And we start in the center of this circle. Like, the camera starts at the center of the circle. Like, we're at a over the top view, like bird's eye view.
Bird's eye view. Yeah.
And we're really close in on a drum, and then it just zooms out and keeps zooming and keeps zooming and keeps zooming. And it's just really, really cool, because you have like this kind of like core circle of like drummers, and then there's like a half circle of like these singers, and then you have just a mass of everyone else who's dancing around them.
Yeah. It was really cool.
It was extremely powerful and moving.
Well, I mean, it showed it's like we are still here.
Yeah, we're
The
still here. We're
Osage
still
people
strong.
are still here. We're still doing it. We are still people, and we do still have our culture and our customs.
And they're resilient. Yeah. Well, and it's so different from the book's ending, right? Because the book kind of ends with David Gran kind of like writing about the like an interview that he had, or maybe even series of interviews that he had with like one of the descendants.
With Margie?
No, with Mary Jo Webb. She was a
Mary Jo
retired
Webb.
teacher who spent decades investigating the suspicious death of her grandfather during the Reign of Terror.
Yes, I remember now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So she has like all of these like boxes and boxes of documents that she shares with him, including like guardian expense reports and probate records and court testimony. I mean, she did her research.
Yeah, she did.
She gathered a lot of information about her grandfather, Paul Peace. And he was one of the victims who did not show up in the FBI files and whose killers did not go to prison. So that, I just got chills again. Essentially, the theory is that he was like, not the theory. He suspected that his wife, who was white, was poisoning him. And this is in December of 1926. And then he went to go see an attorney. And it was the attorney Comstock, whom Webb described as one of the few decent white attorneys at the time. Peace wanted to get a will and wanted to get a divorce and change his will to disinherit his wife. And so, and she actually, Mary Jo Webb actually named the Schoen brothers, as like probably where she was getting the poison, to poison her husband. The book ends on this story of Paul Peace. He vowed to disinherit and divorce the wife he suspected of poisoning him. And then in February of 1927, he was injured in a hit and run and left to bleed out on the road. And basically, Mary Jo Webb was like, maybe you, like in the book, you know, he quotes her saying, maybe you could look into it. And he nods, though he writes, though I knew that in my own way, I was as lost in the mist as Tom White or Molly Burkhart had been. And then in the final paragraph, we get this beautiful kind of like place writing, right? Where he says, Webb walked me outside onto the front porch. It was dusk and the fringes of the sky had darkened. The town and the street were empty, and beyond them the prairie too. This land is saturated with blood, Webb said. For a moment she fell silent, and we could hear the leaves of the blackjacks rattling restlessly in the wind. Then she repeated what God told Cain before he killed Abel. The blood cries out from the ground. And that's where we end. And my whole body is chills. So we end in very different spots in the book and in the movie.
Oh yeah.
And again, it comes back to they're telling different stories, I think. So they
Yeah.
require different openings, different beginnings, different endings. Um,
Yeah.
but but all are extremely powerful. We fucking did it.
We did it. So then here's my last question for you.
Yeah.
Are you a book nerd or a movie buff?
Shit, man. I don't know. Can you go first on that one? What are you?
So on the one hand, I think I'm a book nerd on this. I think I have to go with the book is better, and only because I feel like it does the people justice.
Yeah.
And that is because the movie cinematically is beautiful. It is, I mean, because even the best movie can be problematic. This movie was problematic, but damn, it was a good movie. But I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go with the book on this one.
I'm a book nerd too. I am. I think I want to be a movie buff on this one.
I want to be a movie buff,
But I can't be.
but I think it's yeah.
I think if an Osage director wanted to remake this movie, you could turn me easily. Because I desperately want to be a movie buff.
I need more Molly. I need more of her sisters. I need more of what was making them happy during that time. I need a little bit more pleasantness at the beginning, at least, just to show
I need more of
the
them
humanity.
laying on a blanket and
Yeah,
just talking shit.
I need more. I need more. I loved the shit talking scenes. I need more humanity,
Yeah.
and the book definitely has like more of an emotional distance to it. But
yeah, and the book does focus more on the investigation. That chronicle, it's 3 chronicles, 3 parts. That chronicle's longer than all the others, but it's not that, it's like 40 pages longer than Molly's section, the first chronicle. So
but I would love to see not even a remake, just another movie.
oh yeah, no, not a remake, just
Starring
tell me a different tell me the same information, but tell me a different story.
Yeah, starring Lily Gladstone still. She can just
Please keep
that's
her
her
in it.
role. Please
She
keep
can
her in
be
it because, dear
whoever.
God, she was
And
so
also I want
freaking
Tantu
good.
Cardinal because she's great too.
Yeah. And make Leo be Hale or something.
He doesn't get to be in it. We don't want him. We don't want him here.
Yeah, he's old enough, and like it's part of the story. So we have,
Right.
but he'll be a supporting character. That's
Recycle
smart.
all of the cast members, but
Yeah,
flip flop who's the lead.
yeah, just and then I would definitely be a movie buff, but I got to go with the book.
I don't know. I was wrestling with this, and I had my mind made up before the podcast, and then like I had decided I'm a book nerd, and then we did this. We recorded all of this, and I was like, shit, man, movie was pretty good. Maybe I am a movie buff. And then I was like, no, I really just can't get over all the murder. I really don't think I could be a buff
And
on this
again,
one. So
murder necessary, but gratuitous violence.
right. I can't get
And
over all the violence.
I like hyperviolence, but again, only about fictional people.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, book nerds.
Thank you for listening to Book Club,
the movie, the podcast. Watch for new episodes out the third Thursday of each month.
You can find us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen.
Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Book Club the Movie. You can also find us on Patreon, Facebook, or on our website, bookclubthemovie.com.
This podcast was created and produced by Jen Moyer and M. Lord. Our music and mixing is by Jason Lord of Studio Topaz.
Voice acted by Ethan Gallardo.
And we just want to give a big thank you to our friends and family for your love and support.
And thank you, dear listener, for joining our book club.
See you next time, nerds.
And buffs.
Bye.
All right, I'm back.
What did you say smells like farts?
I was wondering if you'd be able to hear that or not.
Yeah.
Adam has been doing egg white stuff lately. So egg white omelets, just like egg white on a English muffin thing. And it makes our whole house smell like farts. And he doesn't agree. But he this morning before
Because he's eating it.
probably.
So his insides now smell like farts too, so he can't even tell.
But this morning before he left for the gym, he was like, "Do you want me to make you an egg white thing?" And I was like, "No, I don't want to eat farts." He was like, "Well, it's really yummy." I'm like, "That's a personal opinion." And so he just asked me again. He's like, "Are you sure you don't want me to make you an egg white thing?" And I'm like, "I still don't want to eat farts. It still smells like farts. Normal eggs don't smell like farts, but egg whites apparently do." So,
did you ever in your like elementary or middle school growing up, like sulfur would get into the water and then all of the water fountains would make the entire hallway smell like an egg fart?
no.
That happened all the time.
Ooh.
Constantly. Yeah, we'd be walking, and I think that's why I didn't like eggs for the longest time, because I'd be walking through the elementary school just trying to learn how to do math, and everything smells like an egg fart.
Ew.
So, therefore, I struggled in algebra later.
You're like, why am I craving eggs?
Oh, why am I craving eggs?